LGBT people got you down? Just kill them. Hi, I'm Mark.
Hi, I'm Scott, and this is Church is Lame, the podcast where we fix the church by talking about the stupid things churches do that break the entire body. Mark, what do you got for us this week?
Nothing good. Just to throw that out there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so like this one came up in the news feed and it was just like my brain went, what?
It was too cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs to ignore. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's a sermon given by this guy, Dillon, a preacher at Stedfast Baptist Church in Watauga, Texas. Not sure how to pronounce that. So I guess this was on June 5th. He gave this whole sermon about why he approaches Pride Month, which I feel like, that's kind of a weird sermon.
Right.
But aside from that, yeah, he said, I'm angry this morning because our entire country is celebrating the worst sin in the Bible.
Jeez.
Then says that the government should be putting LGBT people to death. Like, just as a point of order. And I'm like, okay, so like the worst sin in the Bible, like I can think of other sins that have been given a lot more airtime in the Bible than this.
Right, exactly.
If you even agree that this is a sin, right? Jesus talks a heck of a lot about wealth and the corrupting power of wealth.
Yep.
I mean, oh my gosh. So for anybody who's never heard of this nonsense before, this church, Stedfast Baptist, is a independent fundamentalist Baptist church, which if you don't know what this is, so just take like what your typical, SBC, Southern Baptist Conference church. Now, swing them as far conservative as you can, theologically, not politically necessarily.
Right.
And then make them a cult.
Mm.
And that's kind of what you have here. And I mean, if you go to, I went to fundamentalistbaptistchurch.org, which thankfully I didn't have to type in. I could just click on something from a search window. But this is pretty great. This line, I think, from their belief statement says what you need to know. We believe that we are currently living in the great apostasy, a period of a falling away from the biblical truth within professing Christianity. We believe that such men as Rick Warren, Chuck Smith, Billy Graham, Robert Schuller, and others have been instrumental in contributing to this great apostasy.
When you
when you're calling Billy Graham,
when you're dragging him through the coals, like, that's rough.
Yeah, when your form of Christianity has overshot Billy Graham, I mean, my gosh, like that is, so like I know like we had a comment from a listener or somebody on YouTube, right? Like called me out for using like the word fundy. Mm-hmm. Because like, I don't really, have the most respect for fundamentalists, and I own that. And I apologize, for being so aggressive toward fundamentalists. But this is a church that identifies as fundamentalist. And this is the kind of thing that they're saying.
Yeah.
That gay people should be put to death. Because aside from it being the worst sin in the Bible, which aside from the fact that there's only one sin in the Bible that's considered unforgivable, then that makes this statement completely false.
Right.
Reading some more of this article, which I found on Christian Headlines, it's like this person is talking about preaching on Romans 1 when they're given this message, which labels a whole bunch of other different kinds of people together as being horrible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't single out anything to do with this. So it's like, it's maddening. But then this dude has the nads in his sermon to say, all homosexuals are pedophiles.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was like crazy. So like first of all, let's just start with the idea that our grade school kids at church, like even they have a good enough grasp of the Bible and of God's love to know that, you know what? God actually does love everybody. He's not picking and choosing, right? And these grade school kids understand that God is not withholding love. We may not be experiencing it fully, but he's not withholding it, And then to go on, then to take that misunderstanding and then to just keep doubling down. Homosexuals and pedophiles are the same thing. It's like, what? What does one have to do with the other? That's like saying like if I break my elbow, my knees are going to hurt the rest of my life. What does one have to do with the other?
Yeah, like this is the kind of claptrap that is being spread by certain evangelical Christians, mostly in like the fundamentalist camp here. They're saying things like this.
Yeah.
And they're spreading these lies, which is why, you have people in other countries who are just jailed because they're gay.
Yeah. Like I understand.
Like, come on.
I understand I don't know what you actually call it. Kind of like no, now I just lost my thought.
Oh.
We live in a day and age when I've mentioned this before. We're only getting more knowledgeable over time. The things that we understand get bigger and bigger and bigger. The universe that we live in becomes more illuminated to us over time. The other way of saying that is that the entire area of things that we don't understand gets smaller and smaller and smaller over time. So when you start peddling this crap, like pedophiles and homosexuals are the same thing, you instantly put yourself inside of the part of the Venn diagram that is, I am the idiot who believes the stupid things that the stupid people who believe of the area of things that get smaller and smaller and smaller until I become totally irrelevant.
If you want to be nice about it, then you could say it that way.
Yeah.
Because like this kind of thing, it's so terrible. When the Bible says love your enemy, right? So if at the worst, LGBT people were the enemy of God, which if you believe that, you're a certain kind of a hole that I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
But if they were your enemy, and Jesus still said to love your enemy, like, they're not all pedophiles. Every statistic that you can find in every study, law enforcement, academic, whatever you want, is going to tell you that what you just said here is demonstrably, wildly untrue.
Absolutely. And if they were the enemy of God or the enemy of the church, then there would be absolutely no reason that the LGBTQ community would be trying to find a home in the church. You know what I mean? They would be building their own structures, but there's still something about the love and the grace of God that pulls them in and has them searching for a community inside of the larger church community. And that is not the behavior of an enemy,
Yeah, and because like this kind of, I'm not even sure what to call me, alarmist, maybe, I could call it that. But it's just this kind of Christianity that like takes itself way too seriously, and advocates for things that, Jesus would not have. You want to talk about like, how does this break the church?
Yeah.
And I think right there, it's like when you have people, and that seems to be like the theme of the show, right? Is that you have people who, are in leadership positions who just spray out this stuff that, we can show through scripture it does not support.
Yeah. I think one of the words that you like to use a lot that I totally think applies to the situation is that this pastor, Dillon Oz, is completely in a performative mode. Like he knows that it's Pride Month, and he knows that by putting this sermon out there, he gets his 15 minutes of fame, right? And it's just the worst.
Greg Locke burned all the books already, so
right, yeah. So
what's he gonna do?
Yeah, what is killing the gay people? Yeah, how yeah, it's just totally performative and it's opportunist, right? And so instead of pastors being loving shepherds, all they are is that super suspicious guy playing 3-card Monty on the street trying to get your attention so he can get something for you, even if it's only for a moment,
Yeah, and I think you're like really making people that play 3-card Monty, look really bad by making this comparison.
My apologies to the gambling community.
Yeah, like if you're a street dude doing 3-card Monty, I'm not gonna play your game, but you know what? You're better than this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We at least know you're trying to rip us off.
Yeah.
It's just the absurdity of this kind of thing coming from leadership. I mean, it's like it's fear mongering.
Mm-hmm.
It's all it is. You know, it's like you're spreading these lies. You want to like make your congregation feel shocked and sickened by these people. So yeah, like blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. I guess he didn't really care about that Jesus said that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there's just so much. I mean, you cannot take a person like Dillon or you know, like what's his name from the Westboro Baptist Church, you know, Greg Locke or any of these yahoos that they just spray off this unbiblical stuff. It's like that should be your first step. It's like, look, if this person's advocating something that Jesus would have been completely against, then, you know, run.
Yeah.
Like, please, like if you are listening to this and you are in a church that is saying things like this, you know, where, you know, your pastor is spreading things that are from the pulpit that are lies, you know, like you can go out and you can verify it, you know, like there's no way that like what he's saying is true. Just do not feel shame, leave the church. And I know that's easier to say than for somebody to do, but I mean, like, this is going to just destroy your faith, you know, because God is awesome. Jesus is amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, people like this, you know, when they're preaching things that clearly God doesn't agree with, you know, like, no, we should not be putting people to death. Like, you know, it's like, come on, like, give me a break.
Oh, did you read that part where he gave himself an out and where he's like, oh, well, I don't advocate like people taking the law into their own hands. I advocate the government doing it. It's like, don't be a wuss. If this is what you want, then you be the one to put these people to death. Why would you put this on? Why would you put this on your government? Your government's not in charge of doing God's work. That's your job.
Right. So and this is like, these are the kind of people that in general are also the first to stand up and yell about the government doing anything.
Yeah. Then the picture, when you were talking just before, the picture I got in my mind, you ever like see dog fighting? Like these people will breed dogs and they'll starve them. And to make the dogs more aggressive, like they'll throw them raw meat once in a while, right? And get them really, really honed in on those instincts to attack meat whenever they see it. And that's this church, right? He has a church full of dogs waiting to kill stuff. And he just feeds them the meat when they're primed, you know, when they're at their most ready. You know, he throws that big red steak in there and just loves the carnage that comes out of it. You know, that is not the church, and that is not the gospel. That is not Jesus crucified. You know, that is a complete perversion, and somehow using the Bible to prop up your perversion is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, you know, and these people are going to call us, you know, heretics all day long because apparently Billy Graham, you know, is some sort of lefty freak, right? You know, it's like if Billy Graham's a lefty freak, then I don't know what you and I are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if Billy Graham doesn't make the cut, then you and I have no hope. Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
And I am the last person to put even Billy Graham on a pedestal, right? Like there are people who think that Billy Graham, like if Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, Billy Graham sits at the left hand of the Father. And I don't, hope you don't play that. You know, I think he's a man who he put his pants on one leg at a time like the rest of us. You know, towards the end of his life, was he really converting anybody or was he just preaching to the converted? I don't know. I don't care. Do I think he was making lots of money? Yeah. Do I think that kind of factors into the equation of how you should judge him in his life? Yeah, maybe some. But I don't think he's a bad man. I don't think he had a bad motive. And I don't think I don't think you can really like criticize him for just what? Traveling the world preaching. I mean, sounds like Jesus, if you ask me.
Yeah, you know, and it's like I went to, you know, a school where the vast majority of my classes were in the Billy Graham Hall.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's like I have a hard time, you know, thinking of like just the absurdity of calling Billy Graham like an apostate.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, and say what you want about Wheaton College. I mean, like we also had like this, you know, like little, you know, like kind of, you know, C.S. Lewis museum kind of a thing. And like if there's any two Christians I can't really reconcile together, you know, I think, you know, C.S. Lewis and Billy Graham are kind of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
because C.S. Lewis is the kind of guy that like a lot of people that are, like much less not on the conservative side of Christianity really love,
Sure.
So that's just a weird thought. It's not really important related to anything, but it's like, I think it helps to kind of point out, like, if you're familiar with these people that we're talking about, it gives you a really good clue of like who, this Dillon Oz is, and the independent fundamentalist Baptist. I guess it's a denomination, even though I think they would say that they aren't actually a denomination.
Right.
But it's like, this is like one of those like King James only kind of a things, because they think that the King James only is an inspired translation, and it's the only inspired translation, which offends me and my schooling severely. It's like, we want to think, or I want to think, right, like that it's easy not to take people like this very seriously, because it is so out there, but we know that's not like how this works. That's not how any of this works. Is that people can get sucked in slowly, bit by bit, over time, and they can get drawn into something that is just this complete wackadoo. Where they go from, thinking that, Jesus is great, to the like yelling stuff like, oh, we should be putting these people to death.
Right. Exactly right. And that is what I think is what breaks the church in this case, is that this church and this pastor perpetuate the notion that Christians will say and do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, if you're going to go off the rails about homosexuals and putting them to death, like there's little, like clearly you don't even care about the virtues of your own holy book. And so it doesn't matter what topic you're talking about. You are just going to say whatever you want to say in order to have your way, in order to have the worldview that you want to have. Like, we are no longer talking about, following Jesus or honoring God.
Mm-hmm.
Now we just have a church kind of out on the fringe, doing whatever they want to do, but affecting the larger church in that, like, this thing made headlines. And so now here's yet another wackadoodle thing that we have to try to go, oh, no, that's not all of us. But to some extent, it kind of it is,
Yeah, and there's like a perniciousness, if that's a proper word.
I'll take it. I'll buy it.
Yeah, I like to this whole thing is that it's easy for us to think, well, obviously, like, that's not gonna be me, right?
Yeah.
That's just wackadoo stuff. But like, there are a lot of people who aren't in wackadoo churches that will actually believe things like all homosexuals are pedophiles.
Absolutely.
Like, these kinds of extreme thinking have their way of kind of seeping out into the groundwater of the greater church.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I really get, peeved at these sort of folks. Because, they can be really consistent in their messaging, and they can do it for so long that eventually you start kind of going, well, maybe they have a point here. And then when somebody, like this person, clearly, Dillon Oz is clearly a whack job, but, if something he thinks ends up getting repeated by Rick Warren,
right,
all of a sudden it gets a whole lot of legitimization just in that act.
Absolutely.
And so we need to be really, really, really severely on top of it. Like, when we want to say, like, all truth is God's truth, because if it is true, it's true.
Right.
I mean, it seems like a stupid statement to have to say, right? But that's what we're going to assert, which means that if you cannot demonstrate in reality the truthfulness of your statements about, LGBTQ people, then you're basically a false prophet, in my opinion.
Yeah. I am going to take a phrase out of context here.
Do it.
Yeah. So, in America, we have a phrase here. All the patriots know it, that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And while I don't think there's a one-to-one correlation to religion, I do think that if we really do care about our religious freedoms, that vigilance is required. You know, we've kind of grown very comfortable in the world of church denominations, and I'll let you do what you want to do and you let me do what I want to do, and we will never criticize each other. But that only goes so far. Like, when you let the wackadoodles have their way and nobody ever comes to them and says, hey, you need to knock this off because this has nothing to do with the gospel. This has nothing to do with the kingdom. This has nothing to do with Jesus crucified on the cross, and has nothing to do with glorifying God. And you are just like making everything worse. Like, if the church can't do that, and not that it has to police its own, but it does need to separate the wheat from the chaff. You know what I mean? And that's something that the church has gotten very, very bad at. Like, it's great at name calling. Like, oh, that, you know, those new reformers, they're terrible. Oh, those liberals, they're terrible. It's great at name calling. It is very, very bad at separating wheat from chaff.
Yeah, and you know, I think I like what you said there. Like about like being eternally vigilant, because there's a difference between being vigilant and being militant.
Right. Yes.
And you know, if you go to the fundamentalistbaptistchurch.org, like they have a statement about, you know, militancy. Like they advocate for militancy, which is to say, like, you must actively try to eradicate sin, not just from your own life, but even from like around you.
Right. So like,
if your neighbor is Buddhist or Muslim or something like that, like, and you don't, you know, you need to like correct them. So like garbage like that, right? And it's like, no, like our job is not to stomp out sin in the world. It is to be vigilant about it in ourselves.
Right.
You know, and our community, and that's the community of believers, you know, we have a responsibility to one another to call each other out if we're doing something, you know, shiesty. And that's good. You know, we all are also expected to do it in love and to do it ironically and to do it in humility. I mean, it's like, so there's a wrong way to do it too. And like this kind of militant approach, you know, upends what scripture says and like wants something else. And I think you have to, like, if you think about like vigilance or militants, you know, vigilance is what we want.
Absolutely. I'm going to quote Carlos Santana here.
Okay.
He gave an interview in a Guitar Player magazine, and he was talking about songwriting and performing, obviously, because he's Carlos Santana, one of the best mother-freaking guitar players that ever walked the face of the earth. But he said this. He said, if I write a song with lyrics, I've got to say something like, if you want to live your life right, why do you live so wrong? But when I play my guitar, I can just say, I love you. That's what I think it's all about.
Yeah, you know, and you know, to bring up something we talked about before the recording started, the only people I want to hear Kill 'Em All from is Metallica.
Rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, so let me ask you this about Metallica. Do you prefer Metallica like psychological counseling and getting all warm and fuzzy and in touch with themselves? Or do you prefer the older, gentler, wiser Metallica?
I really don't care about anybody like individually that's in Metallica other than, you know, Rob Trujillo, because he rules. You know, I'm a big Suicidal Tendencies fan. So, you know, Rob Trujillo is one of my favorite bass players just for that reason. But you know what? It's nice to see, at least, you know, I see James Hetfield now. It's nice to have the older, wiser James Hetfield, I think.
Yeah. Like in my mind, they're just two different bands. Like, you know, you had this group of young guys who just, you know, were pumped up on drugs, alcohol, and youth, right? Just going kicking ass and taking names. And, you know, and now and the music reflected that. And now you have a bunch of, you know, dads who you know, who want to say something and who want their music to have longevity and want to have a legacy. And so, yeah, you know, more power to them. I love those guys.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, it doesn't change the fact that, you know, Master of Puppets is one of the best albums in metal ever recorded.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, maybe arguably the best, but I don't want to get into that argument right now.
Right. That's a whole different religious debate that neither you nor I are prepared for. The hate mail that would go along with that.
Yeah, that's right up there with like, who is the real first heavy metal band? Okay,
Right. Yeah.
and the real answer, just for you who don't know, it's Motorhead, because Ozzy Osbourne said that.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So it is written, so it is done. Okay, YouTube. We have an interesting comment from YouTube this week, because I wasn't sure if this was meant in good faith or if this was meant in a super sarcastic, smarmy way. So, Kesavan, Kesavan, Kesavan. And this once again is in response to Hillsong. When the church screws up, it's God's fault. Why take all the trouble to come, die, and come again if you can't guarantee a workable church to help guide people to heaven? So I wasn't sure if that was being said with a tone of sarcasm or if that was meant as a legitimate question.
Yeah, right. That can go either way. It's like I'm gonna elect to read it as, more of an honest question.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we've talked about before, like the only criteria for inclusion in the church is that you're not worthy of inclusion.
Right.
So it's like, it's insane. But my gosh, yeah, it's like, I think that question, like, why take all the trouble to come, die, and come again if you can't guarantee a workable church? And, I think it's the coming again part that is key here, right? Because, like Jesus hasn't come again. Other than, the whole from death thing, the first time, but he rose up into heaven, and like, he hasn't come back in any, obvious way since, right? I think that coming again is where we're going to see it all reconciled, right? To use like the most, meaningful theological word that I can think of.
Yeah.
Just because, like I know, like I get up in the day, like I'm annoyed from like the moment I wake up in the day, right? Like I get in the car and I'm driving and I'm annoyed. So, it's like, I don't want to be that way. Like I want these things purged from me, and I don't know how to do it in this life. And I don't think it's going to happen in this life. I think it's going to take, place in the age to come. Like that's my hope is in that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm going to like kind of interpret this.
Yeah. I would just say that because we're Americans, we have a preoccupation with success. And so that is to say that in terms of guaranteeing a workable church, there's a lot of people in this country who think that the workable church means having a 100% conversion rate, right? Mm-hmm. Converting everybody. And I think it's probably more likely that God's priority is to have a 100% commitment rate. So not that everybody's converted, but for those who do claim Christ, that their commitment is completely there, eyes on the prize, no wavering, right? And mm-hmm. so it really that word workable that you put in that question is really important of what is a workable church. You will often hear me say when talking about churches, not good or bad or workable or unworkable, but functional and dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. And so what that means to everybody is something different. So yeah, and then you take into that the whole thing about Hillsong, and obviously not so functional.
Unfortunately, like our whole podcast is predicated on non-functional Christianity.
Yeah, true enough. But hey, it never ceases to disappoint. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me. We're what, 29 episodes into this.
Yep. Yep, and speaking of 29 episodes in, we like to thank our new subscribers. This week we have Christopher Mims, who's a new subscriber. Christopher, thank you very much. Just always appreciative that anybody hits that subscribe button. And as long as you're hitting that subscribe button, go ahead and hit like the like button and the notification button and click, 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 all those buttons. Find us everywhere on the web that you can find Church is Lame. And if you want to get a hold of us right away, you can email us churcheslamepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and it's like we're really hoping that someday we can grow this whole thing and get kind of a nice community of people going who can support each other. Because I know people need support, and we're hoping that people that are engaging this content can engage each other as well.
Absolutely.
Because like if I I look down here and I see all sorts of names of people who are subscribing, and that's amazing. Of course, we lost a subscriber, which kind of sucks. Which I shouldn't be surprised, especially since it's Rob. What's his last name there? B-E-L. How do you say that? Rob Bell?
Beal?
Bell?
Bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's like subscribed and unsubscribed every video.
Oh.
It's really bizarre. I think he may be trying to send us a message.
He's doing the hokey pokey with the subscribe button.
Oh yeah. Is that even like legal?
I don't know. Hey, all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial, right?
Well, that's true, I think.
Nice. All right, so take us around the bend.
I thank you everybody for joining us, listening to us, wasting your time with us. We are so blessed that anybody cares to listen to anything that comes out of our mouths. And with that, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.